As Iowa gets ready to face 11th ranked Indiana, it's press conference day. A look at what Kirk Ferentz had to say at a big injury for the Hawkeye.
You are Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, welcome in. I'm Trent Condon, and this is the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Thanks for making Locked On Hawkeyes your first listen every day. We're available wherever you find podcasts, and you can also watch us on YouTube. I've been covering the Hawkeyes for 20 years on the radio here in the state of Iowa. You can hear me currently on the Iowa Sports Radio Network from noon to 2, flagship on 106.3 KXNO. Today's episode of Locked On Hawkeyes is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Today, a little bit different. We're going to have a conversation with a current Hawkeye runner. Will Ryan is going to join us and talk a little bit about his life in Iowa City, his career, and some of the great things that he's doing in our community. We've been talking a lot here in the last week about community, and Will Ryan, certainly one of those people in a Hawkeye that is helping out inside our community. We'll also hear from John Bohnenkamp with the press conference day over in Iowa City. He was over there earlier today hearing from Kirk Ferentz. We'll talk a little bit about John Bohnenkamp and get into some Iowa football. We begin today with some news and notes from the press conference as we get ready for this monster matchup against the Indiana Hoosiers. And we start with the most important news of the day, and that is that there is yet another injury that is going to keep a player out for this week. As Jaziun Patterson, the running back for the Hawkeyes, will be out this week. Kirk Ferentz announced that during his press conference. They will be without Jazz in this one. Certainly a blow to that running back room. And, as we talk a lot about Jaziun Patterson, we came into the season with so much depth, it felt like, and Kirk joked a little bit about that. Not exactly the case anymore. The few, the proud, and the free, whoever's healthy is the way that he put it in this one. Kamari Moulton is back. We talked about this over the weekend. Every day, as you know, what I had heard, they knew Kamari was going to be back out there, maybe need him a little bit because of the Xavier Williams injury. It's not what they wanted, but kind of what they had to do. And then when Jaziun went down, they had to take it a step further. Well, now it's all systems go. And you have a bye week after this one. So this really feels like the time you got to put it all out there. And if this is a game where Kamari Moulton needs to play 45, 50 snaps in this football game, I think that's the direction that you do have to go. Now, if that's not the case, I do wonder how much we're going to see from the freshman McNeil. Got Washington, of course, and I think we know his role in this offense currently. He's just not a real good guy between the tackles. Has not proven that it can be that guy. Maybe that'll pop eventually for him, but just is not the case right now. Just not built for kind of that physical running style that Iowa has. But I do wonder if we're going to see a little bit more McNeil and if he's going to be that guy that is spotting a Kamari Moulton whenever he needs a blow or they just want a different change and a change of pace out there. McNeil, a little bit more size to him too, if that could be a component that we see on Saturday. A couple other things. Also, speaking of the running back room, he was asked about Brevin Dahl, who was on the injury report again last week. He was out there, got to play a little bit against UMass, had missed the Iowa State game because of an ankle injury, back on there again. Says that he started back at practice, should be available for depth, but has missed a lot of time. Normally when Kirk says a guy has missed a lot of time, very unlikely you're going to see somebody out there in any kind of capacity, certainly out there with the offense or the defense. Couple other news and notes coming out of the press conference with Kirk. And we'll talk also about Mark Gronowski. Listen to the availability with him, the Hawkeye quarterback, coming up here in a little bit. When he was talking about Indiana, and I think it's what we've all seen, this Indiana team is good. In the Hoosiers a year ago, I know there was a lot of pushback from the SEC, from some of the major programs. Oh, look, they didn't play anybody. When they had to play Ohio State, they didn't show up. They just weren't good enough, and they weren't deserving. You play in the Big Ten, even in a schedule that was not overly difficult, and it wasn't a year ago. But still to play the two teams that were playing in the national championship game the year before in Michigan and Washington, to go out and blitzkrieg decent teams like Nebraska like they did, they took care of business. And to think that a team like that, just because their schedule wasn't quite as daunting, shouldn't have been a playoff team, I thought was crazy. Well, that doesn't matter because Iowa didn't play them a year ago. They do play them on Saturday. And this team looks much improved. When we talked about the Hoosiers, that's one thing that we brought up is that it really did feel like this Indiana team with the quarterback spot, with Mendoza coming in, had a chance at an upgrade. And that has certainly been the case. Mendoza is a guy that in the past, he played at Auburn a year ago, went on the road with California, and won a game at Auburn. You can say that wasn't a great Auburn team. That's fine. Still, to take a team from Cal to win at Auburn, that says a lot. Now, other than that, he hasn't been in a whole lot of other difficult environments. And really the knock against him is a lot of times when things have gone poorly for him, it really hasn't been the case this year at Indiana, but in the past at Cal, is it could kind of snowball, right? Let's make it happen. Let's get Kinnick loud. Let's make it aggressive. Let's do all the things that you're looking for. But when Kirk was talking about this and talked about the challenges that Indiana presents, he said, where do you want to start? That says a lot. They're playing well on both sides of the ball. You know, this is not just some offensive system that's going to come in there. That RPO game that they're playing is incredibly well schooled, and it's going to be, once again, on some islands. The cornerbacks are going to have to play well. As we said last week against Rutgers, there were long stretches of that game where I thought both TJ Hall and Deshaun Lee were playing at a really high level. The guys were just making plays in front of them. And Indiana has those same kind of receivers that are going to do similar things against you. It is a tall task. And then what they do defensively. And that leads us into Mark Gronowski and the continued building blocks that we've seen from the Hawkeye quarterback. And listening to him, he said that there was excitement that they had, having a ranked team coming into their building, definitely pumped up about that, and as they should be. Now, this is an opportunity. And with Iowa, we know the mark, right? 10 consecutive losses against ranked teams. Many of them have been ugly. There's been a whole lot that has been, at times, hideous this season out of this group. The opportunity is now. And this is an Indiana team that people are talking about nationally. People are saying just how good that this squad is and how improved that they are, because you're seeing that. But to have that, that is definitely a good thing. He also talked a little bit about some of the things that they do, creating turnovers, disguising coverages, and working to prepare and to understand exactly what they do and figure out that part of it. But overall, feel good about where the Hawkeye quarterback is. Is it going to be perfect? No. But a big component of this game, I think, again, is going to be his legs. And as we just talked about with the bye in front of the Hawkeyes, I think this is going to be a chance to use him in the run game 10, 12, 15 times. Hell, if he needs to carry the ball 20 times in this game for you to pull off the victory and pull off the upset, you got to do it. I mean, that's what you brought the guy in for, right? And his running ability is what really can make him a difference maker in a big-time way. Can't afford any drops. And really, outside of the Phillips drop, that was it in the game that they had early in the football game. Need to continue that aspect. Crowd's going to be ready. I think the team's going to be ready. We'll see how ready Indiana is. They'll be ready too. Cignetti, he's different. He is confident, cocky. He believes in himself. But most importantly for Indiana, he's got a team that believes in him too. And that is definitely a big component to this one. Should be a fun one. We'll continue to break things down. Mentioned a little bit later in the week, we'll be joined by Jacob Goins from Locked On Hoosiers as we'll get a perspective on both sides of the matchup. We continue here, Locked On Hawkeyes, and we take a look with John Bohnenkamp. Talk some Iowa football with John. Press conference day in Iowa City. Here at Kirk Ferentz Speak, we'll continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. This episode is brought to you by Square. Your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certain businesses that make neighborhood feel like home, whether it's that sports bar you like to go to on game days, maybe a coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. So we've talked about some of the local businesses over in Iowa City. One of them that definitely jumped out to me, Brick's Cheese Shop and Wine Bar. Great place to go. Stop there a couple of different guys. Great variety. It's just another one of those local places that make you feel and make the Iowa City community just so special. And you get that with them. They use Square. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. You can go to square.com/go/lockedon to learn more. Square.com/go/lockedon to learn more. But before you do, make sure you support your favorite neighborhood spot. You'll be happy that you did. Square. See you in the neighborhood. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Well, college football is back. I couldn't be more excited. The tailgates, rivalries, energy in the stands, there's nothing like it. But let's be real. actually getting tickets can feel like more of a battle than the game itself. Endless queues, hidden fees, prices jumping in at checkout. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. It's the easiest way to score last-minute tickets at the best prices with no surprise fees. What you see is what you pay. Taking a look at the matchup against the Hoosiers this weekend, there are a lot of great deals on there, and deals you're not going to find in any of the other places. You can find them on Game Time. Plus, I love that you know what you're going to pay. That's right. No more surprise fees at checkout. How many times do you think you have a great deal and then you go to checkout? Not the case anymore. That's not the case with Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Game Time. Download the app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege, LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today.
Let's talk about the Hawks. Obviously, John, the Hoosiers going to be an incredibly difficult game for Iowa. Look, we've seen good teams in the past come into Kinnick a lot of times, usually under the lights. Won't be the case this Saturday, 2:30 kickoff. But a tough hill to climb for the Hawks. The Hoosiers and Coach Kurt Cignetti look absolutely legit.
Last week's game against Illinois proved that. I mean, because that's a pretty good Illinois team that just went in there and flopped, and Indiana took advantage of it and really dominated them. This is a big game for Iowa. I mean, this sets up October, and it's like you don't want to lose. You don't want to lose this game, because if you do, that really puts a lot of pressure on what comes up here in the next month. You win this game, it sets up, okay, now you got a chance to maybe make a run, maybe get to the playoff, who knows? But that's, this is going to be a really difficult team. That, when we looked at the schedule at the beginning of the year, you look, Penn State's coming in, okay, they're going to be really good. This is probably going to be the toughest of the three when you start to think about it, or well, I should say number two, because I think Penn State will be the toughest. But I mean, this is a really, really good Indiana team again.
And you still got Oregon on there. You got a road trip to USC that can score with anybody. John, Iowa won a game where they had to score, and the defense struggled mightily in the first half, and they had to not eke out a win and win it in a slugfest. They had to win in a bit of a shootout, and they were able to do that. Is it a sign of Rutgers' defense is really bad, or this team is built differently, that if there are other games, and I think there's going to be this year, that they're going to have to win scoring 27, 31, 38 points like they did Friday, that they're capable of doing that now as the opponents and the defenses get a little bit better?
Yeah, because if you look at that game, I mean, like you said, Rutgers, was able to move the ball, especially in the first half. Iowa countered that because I mean, in the past, those have been games that have been like 21-7 at halftime, and then you're really scrambling. Mm-hmm. This time, I mean, it's a tie game, and they're playing really well, and then the second half, the defense played a lot better. Offense did all the things. And I think this offense really came of age over the weekend on Friday, and I think that this is a really good group that just kind of all of a sudden the light switch came on with them. And I've been on the Mark Gronowski bandwagon since he got here. I know he struggled in those first couple of games that you could see the other night. This is why they got him. The plays he made the other night, this is why they got him. And and I'm a big fan of the theory of trust the resume, and I trust the resume of him in his career, and you could see that in the way he played the other night. This is a guy that knows how to win games, and he won. He made a big part of winning that game the other night.
Huge.
Let's see what happens. Yeah, and so so that he's going to have to be a big key on Saturday, and so to get a game like that, it was good for his confidence. Good for this offense's confidence, and really good just for this team in general.
I couldn't agree with you more. His arrow's clearly headed in the right direction. Put up what they put up, 47, 41, whatever they scored against UMass is one thing, but to win a shootout against a Big Ten foe on the road, I think this gives you confidence going into a game that in all likelihood, I mean, we know Indiana scores in bunches, right?
Yep.
They're going to have to score a bunch. This isn't going to be a 21-17 game. You're going to have to score to beat Indiana, and maybe this does build them up a little bit of confidence offensive-wise because they've put about a bunch of points on the board in their last 2 games.
Yeah, and I mean, this offense, and I was watching some of the video from the players today, and Logan Jones talked about how they're going to have to be very physical with Indiana. And so I think this is going to be a real test for that offensive line on Saturday.
Yep.
And I mean, if you can get that group, and I think the other night that group got going a little bit.
They did.
Get them now more confident. Yes, and if you can get them now even with more confidence and play the way that some of those offensive lines in the past have played, I think this is going to be a really good test for them, and it's going to be a really key part of that game on Saturday.
So Mendoza was so good on Saturday night against Illinois, but he also, when you get him rattled, certainly at Cal, and even earlier this year, game 1 against Old Dominion, he had stretches, and that's kind of been the knock against him. When it goes off, it can go off the rails quickly. What does Phil Parker dial up? We saw them go a lot more blitz heavy in the second half, bringing a lot more pressure. What do you think the game plan is defensively to try to get Mendoza off it? And he stopped the run. That RPO game certainly changes a whole lot more. Difficult circumstances here for Parker. What's the game plan?
I think it's a lot of what you saw in the second half the other night. And I do think you have to go after him.
Heat him up.
You have to pressure him. Yep, you've got to put pressure on him. And because you've got to make him get off, get out of rhythm, because if you let him get into a rhythm against the way Iowa's secondary has played at times this year, I don't think you want him to get going. And so I think you're going to see a lot of pressure on him early. And if you can do that and set an early tone, that kind of sets them back a little bit. And so I think we're going to learn a lot about this game. You're going to see it very early in the game on Saturday. I think we'll know a lot about how that game is going to trend, and just the way Iowa's offense dominates the front line and the way Iowa's defense, if they can get to him and make some plays, that may make a difference in this game.
I'm anxious to know, John, and I hope it comes up, and you guys will get Ferentz here in 45 minutes, maybe 50, but just under an hour, you'll get Ferentz. I don't think Kamari Moulton was going into the Rutgers game. I don't think anyone thought, yes, he's going to play, but he's not going to lead the team in carries. I understand why. I mean, Patterson was banged up, and he may or may not be able to go Saturday against Indiana. But I'm wondering, with the workload that Moulton was forced to take on, wondering how he came out of the game in Piscataway and how he'll be. Just if any lingering effect, kind of sore after missing some time and getting back into action. Wonder how that'll go.
I'm curious about that too, because he's going to be a big part of this offense. Because they're going to want to control the ball. They don't want to get into a shootout, but they're going to want to control the ball. And again, go back to the offensive line part of it. If they can get that running game going and just control the ball, that really tilts the game in Iowa's favor. So he's going to have a big game, and he's going to have to stay healthy this whole year, because I do think, this is a really good running back room, but I think he's the guy that they have really been counting on. And so I think you want to get him going now after Friday's game. You want to get him going and get him back into the rhythm, because you're going to need him this year.
John, you are amongst the group of you weirdos in the press that are watching long snappers, things like that. Something's been off in the mechanisms of the kicking unit really throughout the season. We're seeing Stevens miss kick. He missed his kick as bad as he has since 2 years ago, last week against Rutgers. I have the sneaking suspicion it has something to do with the new long snapper that came in from BC. Have you seen anything? Because I know you do watch this stuff. Have you seen anything mechanically, anything happening there in the field goal kicking unit?
No, but it is a concern. I think, because you look at the way Drew Stevens played last year, and the way they talked about him, in August, that he had really kind of, was showing a lot more consistency in practice and was doing a lot of things, and he's been good, and then he has been not so good this year. And so in a game like this on Saturday, he's going to have to be good. I don't think, there may be some times when you have to settle for a field goal and you can't give up those points. And so they're going to have to get that thing kind of clicking, for them. And again, your punting game is going to have to pin them back. But special teams is going to play a big, every side of the ball is going to make a difference in this game. But special teams could end up, if you miss a kick, that could turn out to be really big at the end.
No doubt. John Bohnenkamp, Associated Press, IowaCollegeHoops.com. That's coming up. I read your stuff earlier in the week, John. Your last post at Iowa College Sports, and enjoyed it as I always do. John, we'll talk to you down the road. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you coming in.
Appreciate it. Yep, have a good one.
Good to talk to you. Yep, see you, John Bohnenkamp.
Thanks as always, John Bohnenkamp, for joining us here. We continue Locked On Hawkeyes. A lot of good information for John. We're going to take the conversation to a different direction. No, we're not talking football. We're talking to a runner, cross-country runner for the Iowa Hawkeyes, somebody doing great stuff in our community. Will Ryan, he's going to join us next as we continue on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride. With more IIHS Top Safety Picks awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention in how we craft every model. We make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to great control. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season. Like our players, we sweat every detail, because when you make every moment count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move or be moved. Back with you on the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast. Trent Condon taking you through another day of Hawkeye conversation, and joined today by Will Ryan, who is with us here, a Hawkeye cross-country runner. Will, good to see you. How are things?
It's going great, Trent. How are you doing today?
Doing very well. We're going to talk a little bit about your running schedule, what you're doing, being a Hawkeye, all those good things. But the main reason that we're here is you are being recognized right now as a student athlete that gives back to the community. And I know your dad. I see your exploits through him, through Facebook and the like, but really cool. So not everybody's friends with your dad and knows him from Facebook. So fill us in a little bit and kind of how it came to be, and you giving back and doing so much for the Children's Hospital.
Yeah. So first of all, I was selected as one of 20 student athletes to be on the 2025-26 Fall All-State NACDA Good Works team. And so it's just 20 student athletes across the nation from a bunch of fall sports. So it's been cool to connect with those athletes as well and get to hear their stories. But why I was nominated and then eventually selected starts in my experience. My sophomore year of high school, I got really sick with the thing called Mycoplasma pneumonia mucositis. And so basically I couldn't eat or drink for about a week. I lost about 15 pounds, and I didn't have 15 pounds to lose as a high school cross country athlete. But so I spent about a week there at the Stead Family Children's Hospital because they couldn't treat me over in Des Moines, so they transported me over there. And so I was actually in the stadium for the Iowa-Minnesota home game, but I couldn't watch and participate in the wave because I was so sick. So that kind of sucked. But what made my stay there a lot more enjoyable was when individuals like Jordan Bohannon, Chauncey Golston, and then Hawkeye legend BJ Armstrong came in and saw me. Those experiences really lifted my spirits and made my stay there a lot more enjoyable. And like the time passed, like I remember when a nurse came in and said like, "Hey, we have BJ Armstrong stopping by today. Like, I don't know if you know who that is." And I was like, "No, I know who BJ Armstrong is, and I'd love to see him." And I got to talk his ear off about his experience as a Hawkeye, and then playing with Michael Jordan, and then like against Charles Barkley. So just like experiences like that, like made such a tough experience a lot more enjoyable, and I have good memories from my stay. And so then I've always been a Hawkeye fan. And so when I became a Hawkeye athlete here on the track and cross country team, I saw that we could volunteer at the Children's Hospital on Tuesday nights, playing either games or making crafts with the patients there. And then on Wednesdays, you can go and read books in the children's library. And so I took advantage of those experiences, and I've been able to make some really cool connections with some of the patients there. And I think being able to make connections with them on a different level than maybe another athlete would, because I can say, hey, I don't like everyone's there who has a different sickness or a different experience, but at some type of level, I've been in your position, and like there's light at the end of the tunnel. And so if I can, just brighten up someone's day, like Jordan Bohnenkamp or Chauncey Golston or PJ Armstrong did for me, that would make it all worth it.
That is incredible, Will. And when you think of, sitting in Kinnick Stadium and when this started, 6-7 years ago, the Wave, and how it kind of grew organically until what it is and recognized as one of the best traditions in sports. And, and me now as a parent with kids, and it's still, I've been through it, I don't know, probably 60 times now at this point, yet it still is special every single time. And you can feel that. Take us into that side, because for many of us, well, we certainly hope we never have to be there, but you said you weren't able to go through it because you were too sick at the time, but talking to the families, not just the kids, and getting the experience of meeting a Hawkeye and how cool that is, but I'm sure you also talk to the families too, and what they're going through, what that moment means, and having 70,000 people turn around and wave to them and give them, just for a few moments, just a little bit of a bright light.
Yeah, I think for them, it feels good to feel seen and feel the support of 70,000 people and know that people are thinking about them and praying for them and everything that might go into that. I've been able to talk to one family in particular that it was their first Hawkeye football game, their first Hawkeye event in general. And so then, I think that, really stays with that person. So I think, I don't know how many people are able to be up there, but I think at the last game, I think that there were 12 up there in the press box. And so just thinking about how much that moment means to that one person, just thinking about that multiplied by 12 that day, and then thinking about a whole season, and then I think we're coming up on about 10 years or so that like it's been a thing, just all that being multiplied and like all that support. I think it's indescribable how much impact that it truly has on not only the patients there, but also the doctors and nurses. I mean, like they have tough days too. So I think it's indescribable how much it means to those individuals.
Well, not only are you a student and you're helping out at the Children's Hospital in your time, yes, you are also an athlete. So tell us a little bit about what's happening right now. Fall season upon us, cross country. Now, you can't tell it looking now, but yes, I was also a cross country runner a long time ago. Awesome. Oh, yeah. I was terrible. In fact, at I think districts, my sophomore year, I think I beat 7 people. And well, there was hundreds of people that were in the event, but I beat 7 of them, so not too shabby, right? I was a bad runner. You were a good one, though. Tell us a little bit about the season.
Yeah. So we got started over at the Hawkeye Invite, and I think it was early September, and then we just completed our last meet at the Roy Griak Invitational in Minnesota, which I have a lot of experiences there, going there in high school. So it was really cool to get back there. I unfortunately haven't been able to participate just because I had a stress fracture in my foot that I'm still trying to get back from. So hopefully I'll be back by January. So that's like kind of my target return date. But I think for our next meet, we have Gaines Creek. That's coming up pretty soon. And so we're all just kind of gearing up there. And then all that really matters at the end of the day is how we perform at the Big Ten Championships, which will be at Michigan State here in late October. And so far, Luke Knepp has been really, really good for us this year. He's been our number 1 runner. And so it's been really fun to see him kind of grow up into the athlete that he is today, and all the success that he has had so far, and then is gonna, I'm sure, continue to have in the future.
So, Will, we've talked about kind of everything that you've been experiencing and going through your time in Iowa City. And now let's go back to where we started the conversation. So this is from the National Association of Collegiate Directors of Athletics and All-State. You can find more information at nacda.com/all-state. But tell us more about the Good Works team and some of the things that you've kind of found out now as you've been nominated for this award.
Yeah, so there's 20 student athletes across the country that got selected for this award across 130 nominations, I think. And so it's been cool. I mean, like, there's soccer players, water polo players. I mean, like, really any fall sport that you can think of, like, it's really all in there. And so it's the inaugural season that they're doing this. So they're expanding off of the football one. I think it was the AFCA Good Works team. And so they're extending it to kind of all sports now. So I know that we're the first fall one, and then they'll have 20 more in the winter and then 20 more in the spring. And so make sure to keep a lookout for all the more student athletes that are going to show how much they care about their own communities.
nacda.com/all-state. You can find more information there. Will Ryan joining us, cross-country runner and track star for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So a big one coming up on Saturday. Here comes Indiana to town. You going to be in Kinnick Stadium, or are you going to be getting ready for some cross-country?
No, we don't have a meet for this weekend, thankfully. So I'll be able to be there, and I'll be in the student section. I'll be cheering on just like everyone else. So I'm really excited. I have a couple of friends on the football team, so I know they'll be prepped and ready to go. So I'm really excited.
Sounds great. We'll be looking for you Saturday and looking for you getting back healthy here this season. Will, appreciate your time.
Sweet. Thank you so much, Trent. I really appreciate your time too.
Thank you again to Will Ryan for joining us here on Locked On Hawkeyes. What a great story, and what a great young man, and a great proud to be a Hawkeye, and glad to have him on our side, certainly, and the Good Works team with All-State and NACDA. That'll do it for today as we end things a little bit differently, but a fun look at Will and certainly what he's doing in Iowa City and helping things out, and a guy that has gone through it himself. Just absolutely incredible. A big thank you to him. We'll be back with you tomorrow. Your daily Iowa Hawkeye podcast right here is Locked On Hawkeyes. Make sure you hit subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube. If you're on the audio side, 5-star reviews helps us get in front of more Hawkeye fans. We'll have John Bohnenkamp joining us on tomorrow's show. Then a crossover edition with Jacob Goins, Locked On Hoosiers. We'll get his perspective of the matchup, and a whole lot more coming this week, and a big one in Kinnick Stadium. Can't wait till Saturday. We'll talk to you again tomorrow. Until then, go Hawks.